think, and this is a lot of gyms do this. They take the we try to simulate the fight as best you can. That's the whole purpose of sparring, right? Is to try and get as close to real fighting as you can. So and that's what we try to do. We have walkouts. We have times like our times are usually the same as fight times. We don't train around it. That day is dedicated just to sparring. Everything is set like sparring, and yeah, we believe you don't need too much. We don't need too much of it because head trauma is real. You do. I do feel I do need it. Me personally, there are some guys out there that don't feel like they need it at all. But I feel like I do need it to sharpen up a little bit, try some new techniques, test new moves and things like that. But in terms of just the boxing sparring,
Appreciate it.
Fucking up so much today.
I'm quiet today. But yeah, in terms of just the specific boxing sparring, it's important to get looks from just boxers. Just like it's important to get looks from just wrestlers. Just like it's important to get looks from just kickboxers, because you don't try to muddy up the sports by bringing them into MMA spar. You're just boxing. You're having to learn that skill set, learn what makes them tick, learn their little idiosyncrasies, learn the little subtleties of the game. And in that, so that when we go up against a boxer, you understand instinctively like how this guy acts, how this guy moves, why he moves the way he does.
I think a big thing is like, what's your objective? If you're preparing for a fight and then it's a structured training camp, whether it's boxing or kickboxing or whatever, how when you say sparring, is it really hard sparring or not or whatever? I think a lot of that's got to do with the structure. If you have nothing coming up and you're just going to spar on a Thursday morning because you've got nothing else to do, then I would say that that's not really that beneficial. If you have a fight coming up and say, for example, in between the Romero and Jacare fights, so Jacare and Romero fights, we didn't spar at all.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, because there was only 6 weeks in between the fights, and most of that was centered around recovery and the rest of it. So, and making sure that he kept his fitness. But if, say, for example, now Rob hasn't fought in a while, so there has been some really hard sparring. You know, there's been a little bit more sparring than usual, I would say. Would you say?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's been a little bit more harder sparring than usual because he hasn't fought in a while.
Yeah.
So it all depends on how active you are and what you like. Anything that you do with training, you have to sit down and look at it and go, what's the objective of what I want to get out of this? Is it fitness? Is it game fitness? Is it whatever? Are you doing something for technical development, whatever? Then you'll figure out if there's a point to do that. So is there a point to do, I don't know, a 10-kilometer run even? Yes, no, depending. There's no point to do that the night before the fight. There's no point to do hard sparring the night before the fight. So then you start to work kind of backwards from there. There'll be times where it's important for you to structure in your training to do some hard sparring, and then other times where you're just risking injury and brain trauma for no reason. What do you think, Eli?
No, I just agree. I don't know. Like you said, I don't think it's appropriate if you want to be a boxer to just spar every week. I think that was the old mentality that a lot of boxing gyms and that had. The more sparring you do, the better you become. But then you would lose technical aspects and that of it, because when you're sparring, sometimes if you're still learning, you can't try things out because you don't want to get hit. Do you know what I mean? So you lose a lot of the technique and stuff like that because you're so worried about maybe getting hit hard. Or there's also when you're a novice, you don't know how to really control your sparring. I think like you get hit and then you bite down the mouth guard and want to hit them back harder, which isn't always the smartest way, especially if you want to then compete in being a boxer. So I think, yeah, you need to. We used to train back up in Ballina and that. We used to try to have a lot of like more simulation sparring and stuff like that. And then our hard sparring would only leave it maybe, do you mean, once a week or something like that. And then we'd have a lot of guys come in all the time and whinge about that we don't spar hard when, do you know what I mean, when it was just normal sessions and everything like that. But like you said, with the brain trauma and concussions and everything like that, you're a dickhead if you are. So.
Dude, I hear that, like even like you speak to like old school football players or old school boxers and they say, no, it's all bullshit and blah, 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 blah. And I think, man, like you see dudes now that are like my age, a bit older, Like when we had Willie Tonga, he talking and that, and the trauma that he'd had, man, it's fucking real, man.
Man, some of the old boxers are even worse.
Oh,
They come from the old school and that. Do you know what I mean? They're just scattered.
Yeah, and heaven forbid you're one of the guys that loves doing it with everything in his being, but you're just not very good at it.
100%. Well, that was another thing I was going to say. Another thing that's important is if you've got a young guy coming up and he wants to fight, but he's never fought before and whatever, at some point you should give him a hard spar in the gym, you know what I mean? Where you're going to find out if they actually want to do it or not, you know? So that makes sense. But just sparring like twice a week, just to spar twice a week, I think like it's not really beneficial, you know?
Especially when it's structured around other training. Like you may be training in the session and finish with sparring, like and maybe you trained in the morning, or like I don't understand that either. Because
you have to have both guys on the same thing. So say for example, if you're sparring to like say for example Thursday you're going to spar Jai, so Jai and you and Izzy have known for a week that you guys are going to spar, so you guys can organize your training. It's different than if you get to training today and you go, oh, I thought we were going to go for a run, and I'll go, no, you're going to do rounds with these guys, but you trained this morning already.
Yeah, that's
just stupid. And a lot of the times, like I hear the gym stories, and people are like, oh, but he's crazy, he did it anyways. And I think, of course he'd do it. Of course he'd fucking do it. But that's another thing. Like, dude will probably drink drive as well, you know, like.
Or Mark has rocked up to spa and he's had the last 2 weeks off. Yeah, you know, and he's coming ready. Like he's been in deep meditation for 2 weeks, and you've come on the back of like jogging because you started the session jogging. You know?
It has to be structured.
It's just a recipe to get injured.
Rob, have you ever turned up to a sparring session and you have it planned that you're doing 5 rounds, and in the first round you notice it's just not your day?